Oh. You have to guess if it's ghost hunting or something else. Oh yeah, I kind of didn't want to watch that. Capture. Yeah, let's do it. Was it a face?
How you doing? I'm Callan and this is Slapped Ham. Today we're looking at some freaky videos no one can quite explain.
Usually he has chapters in his
hit that
videos, but I don't
subscribe
see
button
any.
and get ready for more eerie content.
It looks like it's
just
after
like this.
Looks like there's like an ad read.
Is a popular South Korean YouTuber. He often explores abandoned and allegedly haunted places all around the country. In this video, published to his channel in September of 2021, D-Doc ventures out to explore an abandoned
house. What the fuck are those? What are those bugs?
Beforehand, however, he was apparently warned by a shaman to perform a ritual before entering the premises.
They're nasty.
The shaman informed him not to touch anything in the house, no matter how small or insignificant it may seem, and was also instructed to pour an unidentified type of liquor around the property to protect himself from something unknown.
The hell?
But despite all these precautionary measures, it seems as though they weren't much help to the uploader. At around the 4-minute mark in the investigation, while exploring one of the house's rooms,
I guess it could have been. They're just like sitting in the doorway.
Strange, followed by something starting to move out the corner of his eye. Watch.
잠깐 실례 좀 하겠습니다.
Nah. I never really knew about Siren until I started playing and streaming spooky games, honestly. There's just a fucking rifle on the wall. Ghost rifle.
A little while later, D-Doc makes his way into an eerie room adorned with many doll-like statues.
Yeah, a lot of those games have like influence on
something rather strange
the aesthetic of stuff these days. Like, look at Shattered Memories with the VHS stuff. That was way before the VHS thing was actually like a theme. Popular culture.
About a minute later, one last eerie event takes place. Watch. As you can see, the knife seems to move all on its own.
Damn.
Shortly after the knife moves, he calls the investigation off, and with good reason. It's fascinating to see how many strange things happen to this YouTuber despite following the shaman's orders. Makes you wonder how much worse this could have been had he not heeded his words. The following video, published on Reddit by a user named AcrobaticBen9889, shows some mysterious activity caught on a Wise home security camera.
Let me see that acrobatic bend. That's it. I hate these orb ones. These are always
a strange white orb floats around the bedroom before eventually disappearing without a trace. The following video was originally posted to TikTok by a user who's now removed her profile.
It's not even fun to like
look at that. The reason why, nobody knows. One clip that used to be featured on the profile has been preserved and now floats around forums as evidence of something strange.
So fucking
in the
close
video, we see the OP singing. Keep an eye out for something freaky in the background.
have like contacts in it or something? Eyes look weird.
Watching that again as the young girl sings for her viewers, a mysterious dark figure appears from the darkness directly behind her. It has eerie, glowing eyes.
Oh no.
Unfortunately, the video ends immediately after the
Does look
strange
like a dog.
entity makes itself known, so we'll never know exactly what happened after the footage stopped. The fact that the account doesn't exist anymore does leave some viewers with an uneasy feeling. Could something have happened to her? Until
Yeah.
more info comes to
The
hand,
ghost
let's
deleted
just
her
hope
TikTok
the uploader
account.
is somewhere safe.
Did her dog delete her TikTok account? Can't talk.
YouTuber Tomorrow's Garden frequently uploads content of him exploring local forests in search of unique mushrooms to show his subscribers. In one upload published in May of 2015, he made one discovery that gave him the chills. Everything seems to be going perfectly fine for the first little while as the uploader shows a number of different mushrooms.
And this one looks like it has a bite out of it.
That was me.
And
I was
this one
hungry.
Suddenly, he's caught off guard by something horrifying.
looks like it's holding some water.
Oh my god!
I think it's time to go.
Oh, we've seen this one before.
Listening to that again, out
That's
of
so
nowhere, a
fake.
blood-curdling scream can be heard echoing
I think
from
it's
somewhere
time to
in the
go.
distance.
You would be like fucking
Ever
sprinting.
since this unsettling video was uploaded to his channel, Tomorrow's Garden has stopped uploading videos related to mushroom hunting and has instead transitioned to content relating to tech and
I
hardware.
think it's time to
Is
go.
it possible that this incident scared him so much that he no longer goes hunting for mushrooms in the woods? It's entirely possible, and if true, it's hard to blame him.
It just sounds like someone yelling next to him.
I think it's time to go.
What gets me is his reaction more than anything. I think it's time to go. Like,
This
it doesn't
next
seem
video
like
was
an
uploaded by
organic
Dark
reaction
Free and
to
follows
something like
a man
that. You know what I
filming in
mean?
the wilderness.
Like if you hear something out in the woods when you're on a hike, you don't like talk to yourself.
Everything
You
seems
just
to be going
fucking
perfectly fine for the first little while in the clip. The man walks
Fight or
underneath
flight,
a large
you know what I
bridge,
mean?
exploring the site. On the surface, everything seems fine, but if you slow it down, there's something unsettling hiding in this footage. Watch.
gotta leave a good one-liner for the camera.
Someone seems to be clinging to the underside of the bridge. They're dressed all in white, not moving at all.
The fucking ninja.
Amazingly, it appears as if the uploader didn't notice the strange figure at the time of filming, as he continues to
Because they
calmly
weren't
explore
there.
the old
It looks
bridge.
fake as fuck.
Some viewers have said that something bad must have
this
happened on
inspired
this
the Red Hot
bridge,
Chili Peppers.
and what we're seeing is actually the spirit of someone who died in the area. If so, was she trying to warn the uploader?
Yeah, they're just
about
trying to be
the area?
Spider-Man. They really were
Whatever
into
the case
Spider-Man
may
when they
be, there's
died.
no doubt that when he finally reviewed the footage, his blood must
Oh,
have
man,
ran
I can do
cold
Spider-Man
when he
things
finally
now.
spotted
Sick.
this figure. Before we take a look at a super unsettling family photo,
That
remember to
Alf?
caress that subscribe button, then tickle that little bell icon there and turn on all channel notifications. That way you'll be in the loop every time we drop our scary and mysterious videos.
Leave the bell alone.
A YouTuber named Banana Joe uploaded
The
a creepy
Nana
video
Joe.
to his channel in June of 2016. He says that one day he, his mum and his sister were at a friend's house hanging out by the pool. The uploader's mother took a photo of her son playing in the pool.
Banana
But as
Joe
soon as the
himself.
picture was taken, the
Oh, there's
mother
an
was
alien.
absolutely horrified and told her son to get out of the pool immediately. The photo shows the young boy in the pool. However, in the background, there's half a head bobbing just above the water.
Hey, Mom.
The uploader and his family have insisted there was absolutely nobody else in the pool that day, which made the incident that much more unsettling for them when they reviewed the photo.
It's
To
a
this
fucking
day, the
Resident
family
Evil.
haven't been back in the pool, nor have they been
Red-eyed
able
zombie.
to explain what was captured on film.
Now, if you
Is
can't
that
get enough of
good?
the old slapped ham, then check
Slap that subscribe bell with your hand. Remember, I watched a Vietnam War documentary earlier today. Now my entire recommendation is just like all like fucking war stuff. Also, I watched one Tiberian Sun video. Now there's like 80 Tiberian Sun videos. It was all right. It was one that I saw a while ago. I was just watching it again. Watching a bunch of like random stories about like Africa and stuff. UN forces and that shit. Usually the recommendations are like pretty benign, like get a little bit of everything, but lately they're like really one-sided. I'm thinking about using 2 different accounts. One for just when I'm watching stuff on stream. So it has its own like algorithm kind of. Yeah, I was trying to get Tiberian Sun working. Like it works fine, but I can't get it to capture on OBS. I would like to play that. So there's like a bunch of videos about that now. I'll just watch this bedtime video. Bedtime stories. Because I'm kind of intrigued about this one. The van meter.
Been built.
And built.
Pulling his coat a little tighter to his chest in an effort to stave off the paralysing effects of the cold night air,
Like really loud.
UG Griffith found himself wondering just how late the hour truly was. A cursory check of his pocket watch soon confirmed the salesman's worst fears. It was already gone 1 o'clock in the morning,
Like
far
all
later than
fucking
he had
crusty
promised his
looking.
wife he would be returning from his rounds. Quickening his pace, Griffith hurried through the city's business district, which was unsurprisingly devoid of activity due to the lateness of the hour. Yet even without having to negotiate obstacles such as other pedestrians or traffic,
Did it say what year
the
this
door
was?
to his abode still remained a frustrating 10-minute hike away. The businessman had managed to make it halfway along Main Street when something had brought him to an abrupt halt. There, atop the roof of the nearby Mather and Greg's building, someone had placed an open lantern which was burning brightly, its light spilling onto the street below. Taking into account the time, and believing that no honourable man should have any business on a rooftop at such an hour, Griffith was more than a little perturbed by the sight. Having decided it was within his civic duty to investigate, he proceeded to walk confidently out into the middle of the road and
Oi!
call out a challenge.
What are you doing up there?
Almost immediately, and to his utter surprise, the light from the lantern suddenly leapt into the sky, travelling several meters up the street and then landing on another rooftop. Dumbfounded, Griffith was momentarily at a loss as to how to proceed, before again persuading himself something illicit must be afoot. As he began a determined pace along the building line,
I think I would
he
not be
again
investigating
called out,
that.
demanding the holder of the lantern descend from the roof
If you
and
saw it like
identify
float
themselves.
away into another roof, like, come on.
Once again, the result of his order was that the ball of burning light instead
Dude was just drunk
hurtled
as
up into
fuck.
the sky, this time sailing directly over the top of him and settling on a roof situated on the opposite side of the street. Completely stunned by what he was seeing, Griffith could only watch on in further amazement as the light now rose vertically up into the sky. It travelled in a steady and unwavering path directly upwards, before suddenly appearing to vanish into thin air. Griffith stood perfectly still for a short time, waiting for the mysterious light to reappear. When it did not, he slowly shook his head in wonder, before continuing on his way. Resolving to speak with the owners of the buildings he had seen the light on the following morning, he again quickened his pace, eager to make up for the time he had
I would
just
really
lost.
just assume this man is drunk. I don't know.
U.G. Griffith was a prominent and popular member of the community in the city of Van Meter, and so on the morning of September the 30th, 1903, when he began to talk about his experiences, people naturally stopped and listened. As a result of Griffith's claims, the roofs and upper levels of the buildings in question were checked for any potential trace of a prowler, but there was nothing to be found. Whilst the day wore on, the businessman's story began to spread throughout the city, naturally resulting in a palpable increase in community tension. It was of little surprise then that just after midnight the following evening, some of the town's inhabitants were feeling particularly nervous about who or what it was that one of their number had allegedly encountered. Amongst this group was a local physician named Dr. Alcott. He had been lying on a cot in his back office, struggling to get off to sleep, when a bright and unnatural light had unexpectedly shone into the room through the window.
Wait, his name was Dr. Alcott, and he was lying on a
Convinced
cot?
this must be the same prowler that Griffith had sighted the previous evening, clearly now looking to force entry, Alcott pulled his pistol from his desk drawer and ran downstairs. But what he saw when he exited the building would end up haunting him for the rest of his days. Clinging to the wall immediately outside his office window was a monster right from the depths of hell. It was largely humanoid in shape,
Definitely looks like
possessing
Mothman.
a huge wingspan, and with
FPS.
what appeared to be a long
POV.
beak protruding from its face. The lengthy talons which the creature possessed at the termination of each wing were unlike any known species of bird, and seemed as unnatural as the blunt horn that jutted from the centre of its forehead.
Oh, we got red
Alcott could
circles.
see that it was this bizarre extension that was somehow projecting the unearthly light in through his window, and was like nothing
make a
he'd
Venn
ever seen
diagram?
before. With a cry of terror,
The Mothman's
the
in the
doctor
middle.
raised his pistol and fired, at which point the creature looked down at him, inadvertently blinding him with the light that was pouring forth from its horn. In desperation, Alcott fired his weapon a further 4 times, at which point the entity gave a piercing shriek and then flew off quickly into the night.
The fuck?
The following morning,
What if someone was
the
in there?
authorities found several spent shell casings on the ground outside the doctor's office, as well as what appeared to be minor damage to the brickwork and wooden sill around the window. But there was no sign of blood, or that the bullets which had been fired had in any way adversely affected the strange intruder.
He just shot his own neighbor.
When
I
added
thought I
to the
saw
testimony
a
of Mr.
flying
Griffith,
creature.
the good doctor's alleged encounter had quite the detrimental effect on his fellow citizens, with several deciding to take steps to protect both themselves and their businesses from the machinations of this nocturnal intruder.
No one's worried about getting shot there.
As darkness once again fell upon the city, a lone figure sat holed up inside the city bank. Clarence Dunn was employed as a teller at the premises, and had decided to spend the night on the bank floor with his shotgun, in the event that it turned out to be the next premises to be targeted. After a time, Dunn had dozed off, but was subsequently awoken by a bizarre gargling and rasping sound, coming from just outside one of the nearby windows. Checking his watch and realizing that it was past 1 a.m., he reached for his weapon and then cautiously headed across the room towards the source of the noise. But as Dunn had reached the window and peered out into the darkness, he had been immediately blinded by a brilliant light, which had shone in through the glass and into his face.
Close encounters.
Staggering backwards, the bank employee had rubbed his eyes vigorously with his free hand, before opening them again to see that the mysterious beam of light was now sweeping back and forth across the room.
There they go.
As it had swiveled from right to left, seemingly searching the inside of the premises, Dunn had caught a glimpse of the nightmarish and demonic face behind it, complete with a pointed snout full of sharp teeth and a pair of soulless dead eyes. Without hesitation, the teller's finger had automatically tightened against the trigger of the shotgun, firing the weapon directly through the window at the creature which was lurking outside. The glass had instantly shattered as the buckshot smashed into the small panes, with the creature once again fixing him in the beam of light being projected from the center of its head, before disappearing into the night.
Fucking picked the wrong guy to
The
fuck
following
around with.
morning, the police found what
Mothman.
appeared to be footprints on the floor outside the window.
Picked the wrong fucking house.
They were abnormally large in size, with 3 toes sticking out from the end of each imprint. Several efforts would be made to take plaster casts of these, each unfortunately proving unsuccessful. The following evening, there would be yet another traumatic encounter with the creature, this time at a hardware store situated
I want
a little
more
further along
paranormal,
Main
like,
Street from the
movies in
location
this
of the
era
original
with, like-
sighting. As with Clarence Dunn,
like ghost hunting,
the
bounty hunter
proprietor,
dudes and stuff.
O.V. White had been awoken by an
It's
odd
like
rasping
completely
noise
over the
coming
top.
from the street outside. Seizing his rifle, he had hurried out of a side door to find a large shape regarding him from a position perched on top of a nearby telegraph pole.
Just trying to chill.
But before he could open fire, the figure had opened its wings and emitted a horrific and overpowering odor.
What?
As White had dropped to his knees, choking and coughing, the creature had immediately taken flight, passing over the head of another shopkeeper named Sidney Gregg, who had heard the commotion. Both men watched on as the winged figure slowly disappeared from sight,
Okay,
heading
what
in the
Pokemon is
direction
this?
of the aging coal mine
Some kind of
around
Pokemon
which the
flying
city
around?
had originally been built. The following morning, when the pair had related their experience to their neighbours, it was decided that enough was enough.
Enough was enough.
Having been confronted by a deputation of angry local business owners, the mayor had sent for the director of the mine to be brought before him. A rather flustered Mr. Platt arrived a short time later, unsure of why he had been summoned. But after a brief back and forth with the city elders, Platt revealed that some of his men had recently reported strange sounds floating up from the depths of several long-abandoned shafts located near the main site.
Where was this
Their
again?
claims had largely been dismissed as
Where is this all
nonsense.
happening? Does anyone know?
That evening, a couple of armed men were posted to watch the mine entrance, with orders to notify the police if they saw or heard anything suspicious. In no time at all, they had subsequently come hurrying back into the city to report that they had not seen one, but 2 of the entities emerge from the mine shaft and fly off up into
New
the
Jersey,
night.
really?
A combined force of miners and local residents were promptly pulled from their beds and set off to lay a hasty ambush for the creatures, which both reappeared just as dawn was breaking. Descending towards the mine, they were subjected to a volley of murderous gunfire. The only effect that the hail of buckshot and bullets seemed to have on the two entities was to produce inhuman screams and further noxious emissions. Despite numerous hits, neither creature seemed to sustain any form of injury, instead flying directly past the townsfolk and fleeing back into the abandoned mineworks. Wasting no time at all, the men who were present had quickly dynamited the entrance to the shaft in question.
No remorse.
Ensuring that
Damn.
no one could
Blow that
access
shit up.
it, or that anything could get out. Volunteers were posted over the next week and a half to search for any sight or sound of the creatures, but nothing further was ever seen or heard of them. It may be that the Van Meter visitors eventually passed away in the depths of the mine shaft, or somehow found a different way to escape into the wilderness. But in truth, nobody can say. In the century that has passed since the people of Iowa fought off and drove away their mysterious winged trespasser, the story of the Van Meter visitor has grown into a global legend.
Iowa.
The enigmatic creature now stands shoulder to shoulder with other notorious flying cryptids, such as the Mothman and the Lawndale Thunderbird. But at the time of the alleged sightings, the story was largely dismissed by commentators. Despite being described in great detail by a number of local newspapers, national distributors were highly skeptical that the incident had ever taken place, citing a notable lack of supporting evidence. But to the people of Van Meter, there is little doubt that this bizarre occurrence did indeed take place. The witnesses to it were amongst the city's most affluent residents, hard-working men of learning and standing, all impassioned and consistent in their description of the beast.
Yeah, they're probably just
And yet, over a
all
century
drunk.
later, nothing even remotely resembling this fantastic creature has ever been encountered anywhere else on this earth.
like how this is a little light
It
on his
seems
head.
the
It's pretty
unnatural
sick.
combination of a flying monster with the ability to project a beam of light from its body is almost too bizarre a phenomenon to replicate. Some who have investigated the matter have speculated that it may have been a prank executed by local youths, using flying lanterns backed up with animal calls, which were misinterpreted by an already frightened and intimidated populace. Others have gone further, claiming that the town was experiencing severe economic issues around the time of the incident. They believe that elements within the city council deliberately concocted the story in the hopes that national interest would bring tourism and investment to the community.
How would that?
The dawn of the 20th
What?
century was a fitful and worrying time for the American people. With the memory of the Civil War still lingering in the minds of the older generation, and indications that a confrontation of a similar scale was brewing in mainland Europe, tensions were high. A number of infamous hoaxes took place around the same time, such as in Cardiff, New York, where the skeleton of an alleged giant turned out to be a money-making scheme by a local grifter. And in the state of Texas, where a slew of reports describing dragons and flying lizards turned out to be simple trickery.
It was like the age of that.
Ultimately, the reason
Snake
for the
oil
longevity
salesman.
of the story surrounding the Van Meter visitor is because of its truly unique elements. The description of the creature remains unique in cryptid lore, so outlandish and fantastic that it eclipses scientific argument and the lack of any physical evidence. Whether the creature did exist, or the people of the time merely willed it into existence, it continues to live on in some form to this day, like so many more of North America's shadowy and monstrous interlopers.
I mean, now people would rather be tricked. But, exactly, it's just entertainment. In some ways. problem is the people who can't tell the difference between them. But doesn't mean it's good to take advantage of that either.
Sometimes you find an object
Yeah,
in a
let's watch
video
this
game so
Outsider video.
mysterious.
I have
Wait a
actually watched
second.
those.
When did this get here? Well, I guess today's video is sponsored by Displate.
Mono
High-quality
is
metal
featured
posters
in
that
this
look great
video, though.
anywhere you hang them, with on-demand printing and unique art of seemingly any subject across the globe. As today we dive into the top 10 most mysterious unsolved objects in video games. Use the link down below to get an exclusive discount automatically applied at checkout.
His fucking
Accounting.
ad reads are always so funny.
2016's Accounting is
Like,
a
so
bonkers
strange.
collaboration between the designer of the Stanley Parable, William Pugh, and the Rick and Morty creator Justin Roiland. It is a wild balance of Roiland's humor with the mystery and intrigue of Pugh's abstract game design, all in a game that has nothing to do with accounting at all and instead has to do with jumping through multiple dimensions through randomly found VRs. A largely discussed mystery surrounding the game involves a supposed secret zoo level that hasn't
thing
been
is
found that
fucking weird
Roiland and
looking.
Pugh have repeatedly pushed in interviews, that cannot be found by data mining or data dumping as Roiland describes it here.
They went out of their way to make sure that you couldn't just like data dump the game. God damn it.
Particularly conflicting about this is that Roiland is known as a huge troll. And
Where
Pugh
was
is
he in
known
that?
for
Was that like
hiding
the
some
H3
pretty elaborate
podcast or
things in
something?
his games that are still unsolved. Some looking through the data of the game
This
even
looks
feel there's
cool. I
evidence
like the
that
way this
something will
looks.
decompress or download into the game when found. After no one presumably found the Easter egg, if it does exist, an update was made called Accounting Plus in 2017 that added a secret scene that poked fun at the fact that no one found the Easter egg, saying that Roiland and Pugh had been keeping bets when people would find it, and even hiding a key in the ceiling that's just out of reach, which doesn't appear to do anything if you were to somehow reach it. Additionally, there's also a kind of unsettling Easter egg I definitely wasn't expecting in this game, where if you throw a seed in a planter, it grows a secret VR at the end of the game that throws you down a path that ends up at this mysterious area,
The
with
fuck?
an ominous, disturbing, fleshy something lying on the ground that feels totally
Kinda
out
cool.
of place for this game. Quite eerie, as well as a baby carriage in the scene holding a battery that when picked up actually boots you out of the game and into the main menu area. No idea what any of it means, and it feels pretty disconnected from the rest of the game. But then again, so does the main menu, as it has a level loader that takes cartridges that can occasionally get covered in blood, and also a basketball hoop that's confirmed to literally be impossible to make a basket in. I'm really starting to lose hope on this.
I never
zoo
really
level.
heard of it.
Wait a second. Is the cartridge for the secret zoo level sitting right there? It's out of bounds, but since this
We'll
is
play it
VR,
someday.
it's pretty easy to just walk past the barrier in these games. Oh, for sake. Can't believe I fell for that. Superliminal. Thanks to Poseidon for submitting this on the Oddheader Discord. Superliminal is a first-person puzzle released on PC in 2019 and consoles last year, where objects change in size
kinda like
based on the
this
player's
too.
perspective that strongly asks the question,
Always
"Am I
wanted to play
on
this."
something?" For Poseidon, the answer was yes, as he was playing Superliminal drunkenly when he discovered a room with two movable walls with doors on them and a keyhole, which is solved by just placing one of the walls with a door through the keyhole. However, in Poseidon's inebriation, he was messing about doing random things when he noticed a huge key underneath the environment. Poseidon afterwards went through the assets looking for the key using Asset Studio with the game, when he managed to find something
Yeah,
particularly
it seems like a cool
interesting,
idea.
as he noticed an alarm clock asset
What happened to
titled
that
Alarm
game?
Clock gameplay prop clone in Windows 54 part an Easter egg. And
The
so
guy was
began
tweeting
their
about it a
hunt
couple
for an
times.
Easter
You
egg
take a
alarm
picture and then you like
clock,
walk
only to
into the
quickly realize
picture.
the game's actually filled with alarm clocks everywhere. But since the code says the clock is only part of an Easter egg, they had
That looked
no
pretty
idea
cool.
which of these clocks to
Reminds
even
me of that
begin with.
idea.
Poseidon gave up and thought to email developer Pillow Castle Games for help, and was surprised he actually received a response from executive producer Christopher Floyd, who explained that the giant key that was initially found was something intended to be used later but didn't get used. As far as the clock, Floyd was a bit more ambiguous, saying good hunting. There's all kinds of random stuff scattered throughout the game, meaning Floyd seemingly confirmed that Poseidon's drunken stupor may just be a useful method in finding some Easter eggs. Good work, Poseidon. Now if we just have some
Bouncy
idea
house.
of where to begin with this Easter egg, well, guess I'll get started. No Man's Sky. Thanks to Granivolus for submitting this on the Oddheader Discord. No Man's Sky is a game that had many controversies and mysteries throughout the years, but hard to pin down as the game is constantly changing, as it basically feels like a different game each time I've played it. The core, however, remains essentially the same, in that it's Minecraft in space with procedurally open-world universe containing over 18 quintillion planets. Starting with the 108th official update Expeditions released in March of this year, players
be
began
right back.
reporting sightings of an extremely rare mysterious object that wasn't mentioned anywhere in the patch notes. On rare occasions, at any point across No Man's Sky's 255 galaxies can appear a mysterious anomalous number station. Upon approach, the number station will communicate a signal the player can either accept or ignore. Accepting the message results in the generation of random numbers, the purpose of which have not been solved. While no one is sure what the anomalous number station is, some have speculated that it could just be a reference to number stations from real life, which are radio stations that broadcast coded messages in certain countries, usually purported to be used for espionage, such as the UVV-76 signal covered last episode episode, or the popular Fallout 3 number station legend, an internet rumor that says if you perform a certain set of actions in Fallout 3, you can tune into a number station that will try to predict things like the Queen dying on March 19, 2014, or Britney Spears winning an Oscar in 2023. Developer Bethesda denied such a station existed, but didn't say anything about Britney Spears' Oscar win. Others believe all the space anomalies and numbers provided in the game usually serve some sort of purpose in No Man's Sky, and consider that many
It's
things
weird,
added
it's like
to the
hearing a
game can have
strange
different
sound.
explanations given later. Unfortunately, no one's found anything in the data of the game
Only in,
that
like,
provides
one
any
spot.
explanation. Whether or not this anomalous number station
It
serves
sounded
any
some weird
purpose
bass.
or potentially has
I
any
don't
more
know, I was
information
making
about
sure there
Britney
wasn't, like,
Spears'
some
upcoming Oscar win is
car
undetermined.
parked outside.
Horizon Zero Dawn. Horizon Zero Dawn is one of my favorite recent titles about a post-apocalyptic western United States where society has fallen and become overrun by sentient robot beasts. The open-world epic has a number of mysteries, such as ones I've covered before like an out-of-bounds whirlpool, or a body
I've been tempted to buy this a few times. I had it on
PS4,
PS4, but I never played it.
With the new sequel Horizon Forbidden West on PS5 right around the corner in February, there still
does look like a
remains
sick
one
game, though.
object in the game that's raised many questions since its release 4 years ago in 2017.
I like the
At
like
one point in
idea
the
of
game,
this
players can come to the
plot,
location
too.
of Meridian, aka the City of the Sun, where one merchant can be found here with nothing particular.
Yeah, I definitely want to play it
minus
sometime.
the
I heard the
fact he sells a
PC version had
mysterious
some
box,
problems,
which can
though.
only be traded for 3 stranded items. The
But I really
stranded
do wanna
items
play
are
it
super
someday.
rare items hidden across some of the
Seems like
final
everyone
areas
who's
you
played it
visit
liked
in the
it.
game. As their name suggests, the stranded items appear to relate to Hideo Kojima's 2019 What the Best Death Stranding.
Is the
which
Steam
runs on the
version,
same engine
like,
as
running
Horizon,
well now?
although released 2 years after. In fact, under
I
the
just got
staircase
Death
appears to be a
Stranding the
doll
other
of a
day
bridge
for like
baby.
$10.
Fetuses the
The
operatives
Steam
using Death
version.
Stranding as equipment to detect explosive human souls made of antimatter. A pretty typical Hideo Kojima affair. Once I finally collected all of the items across the world and returned them to the merchant, it was finally time to see exactly what was inside the mysterious box. Inside lies a couple of standard weapon upgrades not unlike the many others you would find in the game, with the big final payoff being a single item that can't be found anywhere else in the game: a pair of warm socks. All of this just for a pair of socks. To this day, the Horizon community remains confused as to what
I
the
love
purpose
the
of
way the
warm socks are
dinosaurs look.
actually supposed
They
to be.
remind me of
In
like
fact,
the
NewsRadar even contacted
the
Sony
Dino
at
bots
one
from
point for
Transformers
response,
a little
who in
bit.
turn said to developer Gorilla aren't going to disclose any info or a statement on this one. Many assume at the time because they share the same game engine. Maybe when Death Stranding came out, having a save file Horizon containing the warm socks could unlock something in Hideo Kojima's Epic when it came out in 2019. As surely the warm socks had some sort of connection to the game.
Yeah,
But when
Zoids a
Stranding
little.
came out, no one was able to notice
see
that the
that.
socks affected anything. Unfortunately, mostly due to Gorilla's hush-hush nature on this, as well as Hideo Kojima's nature altogether. Getting a straight answer on how a pair of socks is connected to this is going to be a hard one. Then again, you'd be hard-pressed to find anyone who actually knows what's going on in Death Stranding to begin with. Road 96. Thanks to Maximilian McKinnon for submitting this on auditor.com. Road 96
keep getting
was
this
released
mixed
just a
up
few
with
months
other
ago
games.
by French indie developer Digix Art. It takes place in 1996 and follows teenage hitchhikers on their journey to flee the fictional
I watched a
nation
little bit of
Petria
this
and its
one.
tyrannical dictatorship. The game
think I
counts
watched,
that
like, one
every
run
player's
through.
trip will be different,
Yeah.
as the story is heavily influenced by player choice and every environment is randomly generated. However, the game holds a peculiar mystery if this gas station were to randomly generate along your journey. As Maximilian McKinnon found in this random shed behind the station, you could find this easily missed drawing of a radio tower and some barrels. After noticing there was
Yeah,
a
Ross
nearby
played
radio
it.
tower, Max noticed a prompt
That's
to
why I
look
watched play
inside
it.
these barrels and found a note that said if you take 10 steps from the yellow sign, you could find an amazing treasure. And sure enough, 10 steps away from a yellow sign, Max found a dig prompt, where he dug up a box with what the game states is certainly a plastic replica of a golden owl. From there, the trail has gone cold, though it's believed to be a reference to On the Trail of the Golden Owl, a real-life scavenger hunt created by a French writer who went
Isn't
under
that
the
like
name
an
Max
Egyptian,
Valentine. Valentine published a book of
urn
riddles
for putting
designed to lead
organs
people to the
in when they
location
turn
of
you
the
into a
Golden Owl
mummy?
statue in 1993, and only intended
Looked like
the
a
hunt
little,
to last for
like,
a few months.
jar for
However, it remains
organs.
unsolved to this day despite the hundreds of people who have searched France for the answer during the past 3 decades.
You know what I'm talking about?
Unfortunately, Valentine passed away in 2009, leaving the solution
like, took
to
your
the owl
brain
statue
out, they would
hunt
put it in a
sealed
jar.
envelope with his lawyer. And while that mystery remains unsolved to this day, we have a whole nother
Yeah,
owl
pick.
statue mystery on our hands.
That's
in
what that
Road
looks like,
96.
right?
Let's just hope this one doesn't take 3 decades to solve. UB Funkies. Thanks to Ghostly and Lazy for submitting this on the Odd Hat
What?
Discord.
I've never
UB
heard of
Funkies
this.
was
This
a
looks
line of collectible
insane.
toy figurines, kind of like an early Skylanders, revolving around these pretty slick vinyl figures that when placed in a hub would connect to an online multiplayer game. The toy line was pretty short-lived, launching in 2007 and ending in 2010, with the multiplayer online portion since taken down. Despite that, the UB Funky community still lives on, and one mystery in the game
I
still
definitely have
continues
seen
to
these
elude
in
them to
some
this
toy
day,
shop
as
before for
years,
like
players
hundreds of
wondered why
dollars.
2 mysterious large red buttons could be
You
found
guys
on
remember
nightmare
these?
red
I don't
from the
remember
station
this?
that never seemed to serve any purpose to
When
the
the
game.
fuck did this
Most curious
happen?
to the community, however, is that members of the UB Funkies Discord
That looks actually
discovered a
kinda
counter in the
cool.
files that was actually keeping track of just how many times an individual player pressed the buttons, seemingly tracking this value for random players against
I would've
your
loved
knowledge
this
for
shit when I was a
reasons
kid.
unknown. UB Funky fans are still wondering just what exactly these buttons were intended to be used for, why their button presses were being recorded, and what the developers were using with that information. Unfortunately, because the game is technically defunct and
It
nobody
looks
remembers
like it
what
could
UB
have been,
Funkies are,
like,
UB
from that
Funky
time,
kidding
though,
yourself to
almost.
think we're solving this anytime soon. The Ring. Terror's
I really
Realm.
like
Thanks to
the idea
frequent
of, like,
contributor
games like
Hatcher
that.
Made the Fool for submitting this mystery through the Oddheader Discord. The Ring Terror's Realm is notorious for not only being
This too, I've
absolutely
never
nothing
seen
close
this
to the
before.
source material, but also for being one of the worst games ever released on Sega's short-lived Dreamcast. Once described
I
by
haven't played a lot of
critic as being the
Dreamcast
sort of game
games,
that makes you
despite
wonder
owning
what
one.
sort of legal or illegal substances were the developers taking when they were making this.
I gotta get some Dreamcast shit
Particularly
going
interesting
sometime.
right before the final boss of the game. As soon as this scene begins, if the player were to immediately turn around and enter the room they were previously in, if they were to look into this drawer, they could strangely find a mysterious ring. You may be thinking right now, well, odd, isn't that the subject of the game? I would only have to say no, as the ring doesn't actually refer to a literal ring at all. In fact, in the original Japanese novel, ring is the name of a virus that spreads through the use of a videotape, whereas in the American film, the ring refers to a ring of light a girl sees from the bottom of a well, which leads to the supernatural cursing of a videotape. Both of which are different rings, but neither of which are.
I kind of like the ring, despite
Honestly,
how bad
given
it
this
is.
game, it wouldn't really be that surprising if the developers
I think I have
themselves mixed
nostalgia
this
for it
up,
'cause I saw it
especially
in the
considering
theaters
the
when I was
ring in
younger.
this game refers to some sort of malicious virtual reality cyber matrix. To this day, no one knows what exactly the purpose of this ring is supposed to be. It kind of looks like it would have been used for a proposal. Perhaps that's what it was originally going to be used for, and the developer backed out of it at the last minute, as I can't imagine anyone saying yes after seeing they worked on this. Cave Story. Thanks to Doc Evanson for submitting this mystery through oddheader.com. Cave Story is a
Cave
one-man
Story.
indie hit developed by Daisuke Amaya, aka Pixel, in 2004 that's been re-released across several generations of platforms including Mac, PC, Wii, Nintendo DSi, Nintendo 3DS, and Nintendo Switch. Yet one mysterious object has continued to elude players across its many releases over nearly 2 decades. On this exact spot on Yamashina Farm near the beginning of the game, if you were to open the game with a level editor and delete this block, you could find an out-of-place sparkle sitting out of bounds of the environment. That when touched provides you a beast fang not known to do anything in the game.
fuck?
For years it was thought to do something with the red ogre boss later in the game, but in November 2012 Pixel was sent this image and replied, "Oh, I forgot, but it's right." Which is a little suspicious as only a year earlier he released Cave Story 3D on 3DS, an entire reworking of the original game from the ground up, where the Beast Fang actually made a reappearance with a twist. This time the Beast Fang can only be retrieved as what appears to be a glitch or an incredibly odd way of doing it, as by saving near the end of the game in the second state of the prefab building, and then loading up a save at the farm and switching back to the prefab save with the inventory open. When interacting with the bed would grant the player a remastered version of the mysterious Fang. Only this time its description reads, "You're not supposed to find this, how'd you do it?" Right. Just seems a little convenient that Pixel forgot its purpose after remastering the thing barely a year before. And also, what's the deal with these panties that can be found in the game that also don't seem to do anything? At least, as far as I know. Then again, I'm not sure I want to know. Elder Scrolls 3: Morrowind. In Elder Scrolls Morrowind, the 2002 installment of the Elder Scrolls series, there lies a random cave in the environment named Sharapli that doesn't have much inside, except for some random creatures to fight. However, heading down a winding path at the lowest point of the cave, a powerful enemy resides guarding a really poorly rendered fountain that the game refers to as the Pool of Forgetfulness, which has baffled Morrowind fans since the game's release nearly 20 years ago. Some believe that developers meant to make the pool part of a quest and very appropriately forgot to finish it, or that it's an unfinished asset that they forgot to make look good. As honestly, that's the worst looking water I've ever seen.
That's
and that
water.
says a lot for Morrowind. The cave is also said
Laminar
more to have been a
effect.
base for the elusive organization known as Sixth House, leading some to believe the pool could have possibly been involved in a quest where you would have had to join the Sixth House yourself, and that the Pool of Forgetfulness could have been a part of a cultic ritual where you would have washed away your memories from a previous life, though that's pure speculation. Unfortunately, I didn't manage to get a hold of any Elder Scrolls developers to get any hard facts on the matter, but given lots of things about this fountain, chances are they wouldn't remember anyway. Half-Life Alex. Thanks to Randy Lubbers and that Aldude for submitting this mystery through the Oddheader Discord and website, with additional information from YouTuber and Discord member The Monotonous. 2020 Half-Life Alex was the long-awaited return to the acclaimed first-person sci-fi shooter franchise, after having fans wait 15 years for the mythical Half-Life 3, except this time returning in VR and still managing to avoid that elusive 3. Well, it didn't take long for players to start digging up clues for an extravagant mystery, as literally as soon as the game started, players found a radio that seemed to produce a number station, and immediately found in the data of the game that it wasn't wasn't just a single recording saying numbers. It was actually individually recorded numbers and letters, each being separately broadcast through a random likelihood, which appears to be one of the hardest ways you could possibly program this if it was just supposed to be
I would probably
audio
say
in the
it's named that way
background.
too
In
if I didn't know how to
addition,
say
there were
it, I
random
guess.
robotic voices that were clearly reversed, that appeared to be giving more letters when played backwards, and extremely confusingly, the programming logic specifically says to manually play the characters A14, D7, and V4 more often, while all the other random digits are labeled under a function suspiciously called secret random. There's also a second radio that can be found in the Northern Star Hotel later in the game that turns off when you pick it up, which made players believe it needed to be taken to a certain spot to produce more sounds, similar to an Easter egg that was patched into the original Portal, or taking a radio to certain spots created a preview for Portal 2. Strangely, taking this radio out of the area actually crashes the game every time, which is the only object in the game known to do so. A fan reached out to Gabe Newell himself and asked if the radio station's Half-Life Alyx were part of an ARG, alternate reality game, where codes would lead players off of the game searching elsewhere in the world for clues and promotion for another title. Gabe returned with, "There is no ARG." Damn. No ARG, but why the odd programming logic with the radios? There's also this interview with Gabe with IGN around the same time. Keep in mind the radios in Portal were patched well after release, including an Easter egg teased in the next game.
Are there any little Gabe Easter eggs in there, or things that you wanted or suggested?
I'm not gonna give up the Easter eggs yet.
Fair enough.
Yet. Although Gabe has confirmed there isn't an ARG with the radios, there is
Yeah,
the
you should post
possibility
your
something
video
will be added
if
to
you
the
want,
game
Lana.
later, especially as Valve was pretty open after
Personal.
Alyx's release that they weren't sure what the next title was. Why do the radios
Wanna
say
watch
certain
it?
letters more than
Check it
others?
out.
Why are the random numbers labeled secret? Why does this radio turn off when grabbed and suspiciously crash the game when leaving the area? I just have a really hard time imagining all this effort was put in for random radio noise in the background. Wait, did that say 3? And thanks again to Display for sponsoring this video.
That's pretty cool.
As well
Good job,
as providing
Lana.
me these beautiful, really slick designs. We're still unpacking from having recently moved, and these metal
The
posters
lady's
were
looking at that
exactly what
tiger,
I
though.
needed. There's such a high level of
Gonna
quality
wake up
to
and
these
kill
prints
her.
with no detailed compromised at all. I put them right outside my recording booth, so whenever I step out for a break, I get
Down. I do like Odd Header a lot. Kind of cool. Bunch of videos. There's a link to that too. There's Mono's video as well. Yeah, what if that lady was Joe Exotic? How would you? You know what I've had coming up in my recommendations a few times? Is these like recreations of accidents.
By a common area that includes a large compressor room. Repaired during the 26th were shaking, and brine was sloshing out.
Brine was sloshing out.
The firefighters, using handheld detectors, should be restarted. Appropriate personal protective equipment eventually exceeded the holding strength of a coupling.
It's like 3D recreations of industrial accidents. It's kind of interesting YouTube niche. Yeah, the World of Horror update is pretty cool. I can't wait to crack into it a bit more. Give them a little bit of time to really get into it. Get those hot fixes out. I didn't see anything like brand new particularly. Like I did see new stuff, but like I wanted to get like a whole new character to play. I think you have to unlock them somehow. I think you gotta unlock them. Not sure though. I think I'm gonna play some Tarkov. I think it's time for some Tarkov. I think it's time. I'm just looking for something else.